Hey, good morning everyone. Welcome to Brett's Table. Thanks for joining in. Feeling a little out of sorts today. Can't imagine how or why that's possible. That's a joke. But anyway, today it's a beautiful day here in St. Paul, and rhubarb is still in season, so we're going to make a rhubarb chutney this morning. So I've got everything all meased out here on my cookie sheet or jelly roll pan in the order that it's going to go into my Dutch oven. So the first thing, I've got the Dutch oven heating on the fire, so I'm going to put in a couple of teaspoons of butter. So, yep, it's just sizzling away here. Let that get melted. And then I've got the ingredients are in the order that I'm going to put them in the pot. So the first thing we're going to put in is a cinnamon stick that I've broken in half and a couple of bay leaves. And we're just going to stir that around just to get it coated in the fat and start allowing both of these to bloom a little bit. I'm just going to turn up the fire. So in the next, I've got like 3 ounces or a half a cup of chopped red onions. So those are going to go in. And we're going to sweat these. See if I can get closer. I don't want them to brown, I just want them to sweat. And I'm going to add some salt because that will help with the releasing of the liquid in the onions, just to get them going a little more. And oftentimes the recipe will say, add onions and garlic and, saute. But garlic takes less time generally to cook than onions do. And so if you add them at the same time, the garlic will potentially burn before the onions are sweated. So that's why I always add them separately. This is ginger, fresh ginger, that I'm adding now, and I'm just going to let that sweat a little more. Just get those going, get the flavors melding together. And it smells amazing, and this is, we're into 3 minutes now, and we're halfway to being finished already. So, gonna turn up the fire a little more. Keep stirring. Yeah, in this recipe, I noticed the last time I made this that I basically stir continuously because I don't want anything to burn. Actually, I don't want anything to actually brown. So we're just going to keep everything moving in the pot. Now I'm going to add the garlic. Because like I said, it doesn't take very long to cook. So that goes in later. And when I'm writing recipes, I try to write in the order that the ingredients are going into the method. So in this case, I chopped all of the rhubarb, the onions, the garlic, the ginger, and then, put them in the order that they actually go into the pot. So those are looking great, everything. So now the next thing I'm going to do is add the mustard seed and the coriander seed. And something I learned from my friends Raghavan and Savir is that in Indian cuisine, oftentimes spices are added to fat in order for the spices to bloom, to extract more flavor, and I can already smell it. I'm going to turn down my fire. So some recipes say, you just put everything in a pot and you cook it for 5 minutes. But if you add a little more care to what you're doing, I think you come out with superior results. Not that one way is right and another way is wrong. I learned a long time ago when I used to teach people how to sing that there's more than one right way to get to your goal. So this is just one way. If you know of a better way or a different way, I am all ears. So now we're going to add the vinegar and the sugar. And see that liquid immediately stop any more browning. So we're just gonna, the sugar is already melted. So now we're going to add my chopped rhubarb here, and initially I said to use lemon juice, but I didn't have any lemons, but I had an orange. So I took and zested half the orange because I'm going to use the other half in a cocktail probably this evening. So we're just going to stir that around, and the rhubarb will start breaking down. I can try and keep everything in the pot. So I'm going to turn up the heat again. And again, recipes say, on medium heat. Well, don't just go by what the recipe says. You want to look at it and see it and smell it and be aware of what is going on and not just rely on somebody else's directions. So I'm turning this up. I'm going to also add the dried sour cherries that have been in my cupboard for quite some time, and those are actually from my friend Mark Christopher, who's at the St. Paul Farmers Market called Maple Leaf Orchard. And I talked to him yesterday, and sour cherries will be coming into the market, if not next week, the week after. So it's time for sour cherry season again. So we're just gonna keep letting that cook. And this takes 5 to 6 minutes. So I'm just gonna put a lid on it ever so briefly, just so that the juices extract here. Anybody have any questions? Hi, Thorsten. No questions. So again, I made this, quite a few people have already asked for a jar, which is great, because I am not processing these in a hot water bath. You could absolutely do that and can them, but how much chutney can one person eat? Last night I grilled some lamb chops that I had marinated in a yogurt, heavy cream, cumin, ginger, garlic marinade, and actually this chutney was amazing with the lamb chops. You could also, I think, would be amazing with pork chop or pork tenderloin, or if you had a piece of toasted bread, which is also called crostini, and you smeared it with some cream cheese or ricotta, and then you topped it with this chutney, I think that would also be amazing. So we're just gonna keep stirring this. The cherries will plump with from the juices, and also the juices will evaporate and get thicker. And then at the end, I've cut up some tart Braeburn apple here. That I'm going to add to it at the end, because I don't want the apples to get mushy. So they'll stay and have a nice crunch if I put them in at the end and only cook them for like a minute. And then we'll let this cool down, leaving the bay leaves in and the cinnamon sticks just to continue to impart some flavor. And then before I put them in jars, I will retrieve the cinnamon sticks and the bay leaves, because you definitely don't want to be eating either of those. I also saw a recipe where they left the cloves whole. And I don't think I would want to be chopping down on a whole clove. I also added some red chili flakes, along with the cumin, some black pepper, just all these warming spices, just to, yes, rhubarb's a spring and summer vegetable, but you can can this and absolutely serve it in the fall and the winter. So we're gonna let that go for another minute or two. And then that's all there is to it. So and like I said, this is going to be another 5 jars of chutney. So if anyone else would like a jar of chutney, first come first serve, basically, just let me know on Facebook if you would like a jar, and you can stop by at some point this week to pick it up. So I will put the apples in again in a moment. Just going to let that cook a little more, let the liquids reduce, and then we will call it done. So anybody have any questions for me? Yep, Fred and Jane, yep, I will definitely save one for each of you. So I've got one for Bobby Musto with her name on it. So a couple more people, and I'll save one for myself, and that's it. So yes, here I'm going to show you what's going on the pot again. So it's just cooking nicely here. And as it cools, I'm finding that there actually is a lot of pectin in rhubarb, so it gets quite thick between the reduction of the sugar, the evaporation of the acid, the vinegar, and the orange juice, and the pectin and the rhubarb. It does get quite thick as it cools, so you'll have a nice chutney. And let me just pull one out of the refrigerator here. So it looks like this when it's completely cool. So yeah, it's just delightful. So now I'm going to add the apples. Cook it for about 1 more minute, and then turn off the heat and just let it cool to room temperature. and then put it in containers, and there you go. That's rhubarb chutney. So I'm thinking I'll do one more rhubarb recipe next week, and then I think we'll call it good on rhubarb, because I've been doing it now for what, a month. So yeah, so thank you all for watching today. Be kind to yourself, be kind to one another. Enjoy the day that's beautiful outside. So got the windows open, and I know it's going to get hot here in Minnesota by the middle of the week. So I'm enjoying this beautiful late spring day. So appreciate all of you for watching, and we'll see you next Sunday. So a biento, ciao, and thanks again for watching today. So take care, everyone. Hugs.